Good afternoon, and thank you for stopping by my channel. My name is David Castillo. Welcome to California Wood Custom Woodworking. As always, if you like what you see on my channel, please subscribe, hit the bell so that you're reminded of when I post a new video. Leave a like, leave a comment. This helps me grow my channel. Thank you so much. The video that I'm about to share with you is a project I did for a colleague of mine at school. He had some golf clubs belonging to his aunt. He wanted to put them on some kind of a display rack or shelf instead of just having them rolling around the garage. We talked about it. I did some sketches, then I did a finished drawing. He accepted that finished drawing, and we went ahead with the project. I hope you enjoy. I hope you get something you could use and take back with you to your own shop. If you're a beginner, maybe it's just an idea that you might try out for a project of your own. Thank you for watching, and as always, God bless. I cut the outer ring off camera on a bandsaw. I just don't have any video of it. I made sure while I was cutting this on the bandsaw to cut just outside the line, which gives me the ability to go over to the disc grinder and sand down to the line. The inner circle, I'm just going to use a regular jigsaw, drilling a hole so that I can get the jigsaw blade into the circle. I did some of the work at school, so I'm using this old oscillating sander, which worked out really well. This would be a great addition to any shop. I know you can get a smaller one, and that's probably what I'll end up doing, is having a smaller one in my shop at home. This was actually at the beginning when I was trying to figure out how I was going to put the golf clubs onto this. My first intent was to cut out each piece and then cut them in half, drill the hole, then cut them in half, and then glue them together. But I really felt that that was not going to be good enough. So I ended up doing is removing the golf club heads, drilling the holes and sliding the golf club shafts through the holes. You'll see that in just a few minutes. If you're drilling something that brings your hands too close to the drill bit, it's always a good idea to put it in a clamp. In this case, I'm using a wood clamp. It just makes it safer. If anything happens, you're not going to get caught by the drill bit. This is a real cheap Harbor Freight belt sander and disc grinder, which works okay, but hopefully when I get my shop revamped, I'll have a better one. Here I'm just using the table router to just take off the edges of this part, which is going to make it look nicer in the long run. You want to be careful that, of course, you don't get your hands near the bit. I've never taken apart golf clubs before. hats off to the guys on YouTube who I watched doing this, and it actually worked pretty well. The irons came apart quite easily. What gave me a little bit more difficulty was the wooden driver. I didn't get that on camera, but it was a little bit more difficult to do than the irons here. They came off really well and really easy. Right here I'm bending some 3/16 inch oak strips. They're about 3/4 to 5 inches, 5/8 of an inch wide. I don't have a steamer. In fact, there'll probably be a video coming soon of one that I just built. Right here I'm just using a spray bottle of water and getting as soaked as I can, and then I'm using a heat gun to steam up that water and make it hot and bend this material around a smaller disc than the one I'm going to use for the golf club rack. This process actually worked pretty well because I'm using a smaller disc. That gave me a tighter ring, and I had less of going back straight. I did leave this clamped in place for about 24 hours before I actually took it off and began the gluing process. Right here, I actually wrapped the material around finished disc in order to get the right measurement and cut it to size. I did make a couple of mistakes when I was cutting this. One of them, the interior one, was actually really short. The exterior one was pretty good. But you want to test it to make sure you have the exact length as you come around. And I cut it in place, and it still was a little bit short, so as you're coming around, you probably want to at least a 1/16 or so longer than what it marks out to. I actually started gluing this strip on. I went about halfway and then used the clamps on the other side and went around the other half. worked out pretty good. Here I'm actually bending the inner ring. And this was quite a bit smaller than the hole that I was going to put the strip in. I wanted to make sure that I had a good bend to it. Just the same process, just water. I used the heat gun a little bit. I left it clamped overnight or about 24 hours. It still didn't hold its shape, so it'd probably be a better idea to use a steamer. Try to get a square line or use the square in order to use it as a guide. Ended up just cutting it with a saw and with a sturdy back saw. And Sometimes it's just better to sand things by hand, especially when you're working with a plywood veneer and you start to sand with a power tool. You're going to inevitably sand down past the veneer and get down to the plywood, which doesn't look real good, and you really would have to start all over. So sanding it by hand just made more sense for me. Putting a piece of wood in between or wrapped around with sandpaper, and then just slowly and methodically sanding around the edges in order to get the edges flat. Taking off any glue, but not really doing any damage to the plywood veneer at all. I did sand it with a palm sander and some 220 grit, and then wet it and then let it dry and sand it one more time in order to get it as smooth as I possibly could before staining it and putting the final finish. Set these holders down in the right places, drill around them with a pencil, and then pre-drill the holes downward towards the back so that I could ensure that I wasn't going to have any screws come out the sides of these as I drilled up from the bottom. Clamping them was a little tricky, and you'll see that I came up with an idea as far as how to hold them in place while I was drilling and screwing them in place. So this worked out okay. It wasn't great. It probably would have been better to, instead of a half circle, go ahead and cut another piece that went all the way down the side so that it wouldn't slip. Right here they're slipping off a little bit, but it ended up working out in order to get the project done. Measuring them and getting them level and square was kind of tedious. I had to use 2 framing squares in order to line them up correctly, then measure from the bottom ones to the middle and to the top in order to make sure that they were spaced evenly and correct. Just using a mid-wax stain, applying it with a rag, and then wiping it off so that I get a consistent shade of color throughout the whole project. I went ahead and put 3 coats of polyurethane on it off camera so you weren't going to see that process. One of the things that I found works better for applying polyurethane is using those foam throwaway brushes. I've tried to use all kinds of different brushes to put on polyurethane, and I end up seeing the brush marks on the project. With the foam brushes, you don't get those marks. It actually lays out extremely smooth, almost comparable to spraying it on. You'll see it finished with 3 coats of polyurethane in just a few minutes. Here's the finished project. I find that there is a real satisfying feeling doing something by hand and something that's custom that no one else has.